So you think EVs trash the planet? Please. Big oil's been doing that for over 150 years. Welcome to EV Bunk Blasters, where we shred their lies with stone cold facts. Strap in, we're torching the EVs are evil myth in 5. Welcome back, you glorious skeptics and EV warriors, to another electrifying episode of EV Bunk Blasters. Today we're going to blast big oil and gas FUD to the nth degree. I'm Jim, the snarkiest non-AI human on this side of the grid, here to zap away the anti-EV nonsense. Today we're tackling the tired old whine, the one I hear every week in the comments. EVs are bad for the environment because of all that dirty mining for lithium, cobalt, and the rest of the chemical stuff that catches fire if you stare at it the wrong way. Oh, honey, buckle up. We're going to compare that to the absolute apocalypse of gasoline extraction and refining, spotlight some recycling wizardry, and throw in ethical sourcing just for good measure. Spoiler: EVs come out looking like saints next to the fossil fuel fiasco and their devilish burn, baby burn mantra. By the end, you'll wonder why we're still humoring the big oil cartel's propaganda. Let's dive into the shockingly fun facts and watch a few heads short circuit on Madison Avenue, Wall Street, and especially the big oil offices in downtown Dallas. Here we go. Lithium, cobalt, and nickel. Oh my! Come on, people. The mining boogeyman? Seriously? Critics love screeching about lithium, cobalt, manganese, nickel, and even how sodium is rarer than an honest politician. Reality check? We've got plenty of all that stuff. In 2022, EVs gobbled up about 60% of the lithium's world demand, and 30% of the cobalt, and only 10% of the nickel. Shares that were way lower just 5 years before, but reserves are holding strong. Lithium is mostly in Chile, where 58% of the world's reserves exist. Cobalt's Congo heavy, and about 50% of the world reserve of cobalt is in the Congo. But sodium, folks, that's basically table salt's cousin, abundant as a bad take on Twitter. And companies are already cranking out sodium-ion batteries as a greener, cheaper swap for lithium. Japan's even pivoting to sodium for their fancy layered oxide cathodes, ditching the nickel-manganese-cobalt drama. But here's the real knee-slapper. Cobalt, that villain in every anti-EV rant, it is used in petroleum refining as a catalyst to desulfurize fuel. And about 4 to 5% of all the world's cobalt is consumed each year in making gas less stinky and less polluting. Yeah, the same stuff they're blaming on EVs is propping up big oil's dirty habit. And again, it is consumed, gone. But for EV batteries, it's recycled. Mining these battery bits does have impacts like water use. It takes up to 500,000 gallons of water to produce 1 ton of lithium in some types of mining. But only 10,000 gallons are consumed for oil. But for the EV battery, it's a one-time hit, not the endless extraction orgy of fossil fuels. And ethical sourcing? Automakers are stepping up with ESG criteria, traceability initiatives, and policies to cut child labor and forced work, because apparently some folks think EVs invented mining ethics. But you're about to see things in just a little bit of a different light. As my good friends over at Plug in America would say, reduce, reuse, recycle, and then source responsibly. What a shocking concept, right? Now, let's get real about the hypocrisy coming from the fossil fuel defenders overown other YouTube channels like M Guy Australia. Oh, real brainiac there, right? And how about the automotive expert, Lauren Fix, overown Car Coach Reports? The only thing she's an expert at is duping people into believing she's an expert of any kind. Then you have the human pogo stick, Scotty Kilmer. But hey, wait, he uses an e-bike. So there is hope he might actually find an EV that meets his needs in the future. We'll see, but I'm not holding out any hope at all for any of them. I could literally go on for hours because there are hundreds, if not thousands of channels from people I would not trust to feed my goldfish. Sure, battery mining is not a picnic. Lithium and cobalt extraction can pollute water and soil if it's done sloppily. And lithium mining emits about 15 tons of CO2 per ton of lithium extracted for now. But comparing it to petroleum, that's like saying a paper cut is worse than a chainsaw massacre. Oil extraction and refining contaminate everything on a massive scale. Soil, water, air, and it all leads to health nightmares and an ecosystem Armageddon. EVs upfront mining emissions are higher in CO2, but over the life of the vehicle, EVs will crush gas guzzlers in lower total CO2, hundreds of times better over 150 to 200,000 miles, even with the extra upfront mining factored in. But now let's take a look at gas and oil and their zombies, because every story needs a zombie, right? Abandoned wells all over the USA are turning into zombies. A zombie oil well, and there are hundreds, if not thousands of them in the US alone, are leaking methane like a bad burrito and puking up oil like a sick dog, poisoning our atmosphere, our land, and our water. I have a link to a video in the description below where I outline who will be footing the bill for the $300+ billion needed to bury those zombies. And spoiler alert, it ain't the oil companies. Wonder who it is, huh? These undead polluters spew toxins, arsenic, and greenhouse gases, turning places like Texas into environmental disaster zones. And what about all the oil spills? Remember Deepwater Horizon's ocean-killing party or the Exxon Valdez back in the early 80s? And let's not forget about those pipelines. Pipelines leak like sieves, poisoning groundwater. And there is almost 150,000 miles of oil pipelines in the USA alone. And you cannot tell me with a straight face that there are no leaks. That would be like saying your car rolls on cinder blocks, not tires. And burning fossil fuels, that's the grand finale, pumping out CO2 that cooks the planet. And I do not care how much you doubt the existence of a warming climate. I have proof. All you have is rhetoric and FUD. Prove me wrong. I simply dare you to try. Battery mining, it's a blip compared to the endless fossil fuel horror show. Viral memes claiming lithium pits are worse than the oil sands in Canada? No way. Total misinformation. It's not even close. If you're clutching pearls over EV minerals, maybe cry harder for the oil industry's 1.5 century run in eco-crimes. Crimes that make John Gotti look like a nice grandmother passing out Halloween candy to the neighborhood kids. The best one I hear, best one of all, is used batteries will fill our landfills and they cannot be recycled. Now, this is one of my favorites to roast. Batteries are not disposed of in landfills. You don't have to mine the minerals again to replace them. You simply recycle what you have. Companies like Redwood Materials are the heroes here, recovering 95% of the nickel, cobalt, copper, aluminum, lithium, and graphite from spent lithium-ion packs. They even repurpose used batteries into grid storage beasts, record-breaking projects using old EV battery packs for data centers with AI smarts built in to boot. So after a battery's life in a car and a second life in storage, Redwood's tech has a tinier footprint than mining fresh stuff. They're aiming for cathodes with 30% recycled nickel and lithium, 100% recycled cobalt, closing the loop like a boss, Even damaged batteries from fires and floods, they salvage 95% of that for reuse. And the energy to perform all of this recycling is 100% renewable, with a good source for battery backup because they're packed right there in their yard. And not a drop of petroleum is needed for any of this recycling. On the other hand, let's look at gasoline. Please. You burn it once and it's gone forever. Poof. Into the atmosphere as pollution. No recycling, a single drop. 0 second life. Just endless drilling for more. Batteries get reborn. Oil gets cremated. And if that's not a mic drop on the EVs or wasteful crowd, I don't know what is. Simply, they are not thinking. Now, I know that was a jolt and a short video, but we've shredded the mining myth. We've exposed oil's zombie apocalypse, and we've celebrated battery recycling's circular glory, all the while highlighting ethical strides that make EVs the only eco-champ. You will never build a gasoline car that is energy efficient and environmentally friendly as an EV. It just will not happen. So the next time someone parrots, "But the mining," hit them with the facts. EV's lifetime impacts are way lower, minerals are plentiful, hello sodium, and we're recycling EV batteries like pros, while oil, well, it just burns. Thanks for tuning in to EV Bunk Blasters, where we've charged ahead into the miry, oil-stained landscape and leave the big oil cartels blasted into their natural state, which is pure, unadulterated horse hockey. Drop your thoughts below, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and please help keep Jim's EV Adventures empowered to blast more bunk. In the meantime, I'll see you out there or somewhere along the route from point A to point B. Stay electric, folks, and take it easy.